All righty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, let's dive into the TA. All right, guys, so bulls decided to step in for a second day in a row here, right off the 21 EMA here on SPY and QQQ. This gives us a very clear area to risk off of, okay? It is either bulls are going to hold it right here, or we lose here and we come down a little bit further to our 0.618 Fibonacci retracement. Okay, so I'm just gonna make this real simple for everyone involved here. Okay, you got a little bit of that and you got a little bit of that. Okay, the upside level you're watching, the big level that you need to get back above is going to be 682.12. You get above 682.12, we're likely just going to push right back up to all-time highs at 689.70, and then we're on our way to $700. On the downside, just watch 673.95. If you take out 673.95, you're taking out the 21 EMA, you're losing it, and you're probably coming down to the next area of interest, which is going to be down at 667.29. Okay, that is SPY. Same picture over here on QQQ. Gonna make it real simple again. Okay, you take out today's low, lose the 21 EMA. Okay. You're watching 613. That's where you broke out from. Underneath there, 607.50 is going to be the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level from the whole move up. That is where we are going to look for buyers in between 599.40 and 607.50. That is the golden pocket, the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level down to the 0.786. On the upside, okay, you're watching 626.69, 629.85, and 637.01. Above there, oh guys, we're probably on our way up to 650. There you go. All right, that's SPY and QQQ. Now moving on over to the Mag 7 stocks. Okay, the Magnificent 7 stock. This is the Mags ETF here, which only has the Magnificent 7 stocks in it. Now, we talked about it on this day right up here. We said your bear case here was you come down, sweep this level, maybe test 21 EMA, and then push back up from there. What do we got, guys? What do we got? We got buyers 2 days in a row off our level, 66.95. Swept it today, and it looks like we're going to go over the Mag 7 stocks here. It looks like they want to be driven back up to highs. Okay, we'll start off with the ugly ones. Microsoft. Okay, you're sitting down here at lows. You're at the low of your range you got going on over here, and it looks ugly. It looks like it can break down. We're not going to focus on Microsoft, okay? That's only one of the 7 Mag 7 stocks. You got NVDA over here, okay? Bearish news. Oh, of course, of course. You were finding buyers off the 90 EMA. You had a very pretty candle, and then you got shat on into the close. I do think this dip is probably going to be short-lived, but, you know, at the end of the day, you're sitting right above your 21 EMA. You're probably going to find buyers. Expect to find buyers here until proven otherwise. That's NVIDIA. Now, newsflash, the rest of the 5 Mag 7 stocks all look phenomenal. They all look like they want to drive it back up to highs. It's 5 out of 7, so just we're probably going to be moving back up to highs. If NVIDIA decides to join the race, the $5 trillion market cap stock, okay, the thing that moves the NASDAQ, guess what? You have even more buying pressure supporting upside, okay? That is it. That is it. You get selling pressure sometimes, you get buying pressure sometimes, okay? If the large components that make up the indices, okay, and the vast majority of the movement on the indices, if they're suggesting one direction, typically the indices are going to fall with that, which is why I reference this Mags ETF over here. I'm not telling anybody to trade the Mags ETF. I'm not, okay? I did tell people if they want to trade the Mag 7 earnings, to trade Mags ETF here instead of that. That is something I said. Okay, most of the time, though, premiums are not jacked to the tits over there on the Magnificent 7 stock, and you can trade them normally. Over here, you could just trade the ETF if you would like, okay? Very low volume over here on this guy, though. All right? Yeah, it's NVIDIA. Tesla over here, guys. It is starting to gear up. I am not sure if this is going to rip this week, but if I had to guess, it's going to rip into end of week. You had a chance to break down underneath the 21 EMA here, and you swept yesterday's low, and you reversed, fully reversed, got above yesterday's high for your close. For all I know, this thing is pushing right back up the highs here, and we are going to test that 474.07 high in the short term. And if you break above 470, 407, you're probably just going to start to run 2 all-time highs. And at that point, I think you go 500 bucks this week. It is 10% away from current price. No, it is not 10% away from current price. It is 8% away from current price. I think we could do it over the next 2 sessions. We'll see if it happens. Okay, I'm not telling anybody to trade this guy, but I will definitely say this looks ready to rip. And I put on a little lotto here for end of week. So we will see. We will see about it. Okay, but that's Tesla. Amazon. Worst case scenario, we were looking for this move back into 240, 252. It's looking like you might not be getting down there. Okay. No matter what, monthly and weekly charts, they suggest the higher time frame breakout just started. Okay, just started. You've been basing over previous all-time highs for a very long time. You've now just started breaking up again from that base. This looks phenomenal. Expect buyers on the 240-252 retest if it comes. I don't know if it's going to come. I'm pretty positive this thing is just going to get bought up in the short term and take out 258.60. It is looking like that is going to be the case, okay? Now, speaking of things that look like they want to run right back up the highs in the short term, Google, okay? GOOG, G-O-O-G. It looks like it is probably also going to be running back up to highs in the short term. You pulled back, reverted to your mean, got pretty close to the 9 EMA, and now it looks like it wants to break 286.29 and push 291.93. And above 291.93, I'm thinking this thing goes straight to 300 bucks. It's going to be a big psych level. We've seen how the thing has been moving in the short term here. It definitely has, you know, the room to move there. It can. And we do know that big 300 psych level is going to act as a magnet. Okay. So that is a viable target there. Okay. If you're trading GOOG, $300 psych level. There you go. That's GOOG. Coming over here to Apple. What's going on, guys? On Apple, this is the 3rd day in a row off of the 9 EMA. You're finding buyers right off of the 9 EMA. This is also probably just going to push back up the highs in the short term. Maybe it continues basing out here before making the next leg up. Maybe. We don't know. But, you know, at the end of the day, it is consolidating above the short-term moving averages, and that is never going to be a bearish thing. You know, and then we have the last big boy of them all, the last of the 7, which is Meta. All right, which I told you guys, you know, for you knife buyers out there, daily RSI, it hit the same spot you hit over here on the April low, and then the next day you put in your April low. Okay, you put it in right here, daily RSI hitting right where we were the other day, went lower the next session, and then you had, I think this was like a 20% rip. Yeah, 20% rip. Now, we're not going to get that. Do not expect a 20% rip here. 20% rip here. It brings it all the way back up to highs, okay? Don't expect that. I'm not saying that's going to be the case. I am not at all saying that's going to be the case. What I am saying is the last time you hit this spot, you had a bottom, and that was with the worst possible conditions you had over here, okay? You genuinely had a Trump-manufactured crash where the whole market was just, they were shitting their pants for days on end. It just kept happening. It kept getting worse. Well, right now, I'm telling you, we do not have that, you know, as bad of a scenario. Okay, it's not even close. All right, so you know, chances are, guys, you are putting in a bottom over here on Meta, and either I'm looking for this thing to snap back quickly into this 690 area where you broke down from, or we're going to continue basing out for the next week, and then we push up. So you know, there's a chance you get this action right here where you continue just basing out, and then you move up off of that. It's a possibility. All right, but I'm not sure which one you get. Either way, we started seeing, we're talking like 30 seconds after the open today, you're starting to see, I don't have it pulled up here. Meta, about $10 million coming into these 116, 20, 26, 700C above the ask right off open. That was literally at 9:31. 9:30:38. Okay, yeah, genuinely 40 seconds after the open, someone is following in $10 million over here into Meta. January calls 700 strike. Just thought I'd let you know about it, but yes, it is looking juicy. And I'm not saying there's a setup here. I'm telling you it's probably going to snap back and have that mean reversion. And I think the guy over there that's loading up $10 million in January call is probably thinking the same thing I'm thinking. So I tagged along. All right. But that's Meta, guys. And as I just showed you, we have 5 out of 7 Mag 7 stocks that look like they want to start putting buying pressure on the broad market. All right, so that's the only reason we're going over them. They're putting pressure on the broad market. NVIDIA, I can't tell you if it's going to join the race over there. I really can't. Okay, it was looking beautiful. And then they slammed it down all at once into the close, complete change your daily candle. At the same time, you're still above the short-term moving averages, which, like I said, like 2 minutes ago, you really can't ever look at that as a bearish thing. As long as you're above there, yeah, you're still in an uptrend over here on the daily time frame. Like that is your trending moving average right here are the short-term ones, okay? I watched the 9, the 21, and the 5 EMA is going to be that red line right there. If you are extended, look for them to pull back into it. Did I not tell you guys we were very extended over here? Did I not tell you guys the base case for this week was a pullback into the area we are finding buyers off of right now? Was that not the case? Tell me if I'm wrong. I know I was right. All right. I hope you guys were prepared for it. All right. Because this is it. And now I'm telling you, the indices gave you a perfect spot to risk off of if you would like to. Okay. This right off the 21 EMA. If it loses it, you fall further. It's as simple as that. You don't got to complicate it. All right. All right. So those are the Mag 7 stocks, guys. This is getting ready for another move up. I can't tell you how quick it's going to be done. Maybe you continue consolidating here for another week. Maybe you don't. I'm really not sure. But like I was just saying, 5 out of 7 Mag 7 stocks look like they, in the short term, are going to be providing bullish pressure on the broad market. Okay? Probably going to be the case. All right. Let's get into, trade ideas, guys. Trade ideas. What's looking hot? Now that the market is looking like it's about to be pivoting up back up to the highs, what charts are standing out here? Okay? Let's go over them. So first things first, APP. I told you this is going to be the cleanest, nicest trade of the week over here. Why? Because we knew about the odds ahead of time, guys. We have 3 years where they just continue beating earnings here, and then you get this 12% or more gap up, or just move up the next day. Intraday move, gap up, whatever the case is, you get 12% up from the daily close that next session over 3 years in a row now. Every earnings, okay? That is a lot. All right, that is, over 12 occurrences. I think it's like, it's a lot, okay? It goes past the 3-year mark. Regardless, we knew these odds coming into it. I'm telling you for a fact, that call, they just could, like, the reason this happens, they just keep, they keep impressing the market. That is just how it goes. And I'm telling you for a fact, yes, they just keep raising guidance. They have insane numbers coming in quarter over quarter, and it's insane. Okay, that is what is going on over here. Straight up, this is probably going back up to all-time highs in the short term. There's nothing wrong. It was only bullish things that were being said on that earnings call right there in the questions. I'm telling you right now, they had the double B. We already got, this is the price action, the exact price action that we were preparing for ahead of time. All right, either it was going to be a gap up or it's going to, open relatively flat and then likely gets the move intraday. Okay, most of them, I'm going to say 8 out of 10 of them have been on the gap up. Okay, 80% of them. So that is likely going to be the case here. We're probably going to get a decent gap up tomorrow. And the number you should be looking for is 690. Okay, from today's close, a 12% move brings you right up to 690. If you get to 690, I imagine they bring you to that big fat $700 cycle level. And if you get there, I imagine they take you a little 5 to 10 points above there. And at that point, guys, you're less than 50 points away from all-time highs. Okay, you're probably just going back up to all-time highs. We're talking by maybe end of this week or next week. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go, but yeah, you're likely going to see this weekly candle. It's going to at least go to 690. If not, it keeps going. All right, but yeah, I think this thing's going back up to all-time highs. Congrats if you're making money. All right. That was easy. Obviously, we haven't opened up yet, but yeah, this so far, our earnings call, it went good. Okay, and yeah, so far price action is we're up, but we're gonna have to see what happens tomorrow. Okay, if you guys do want to come trade with me, the lifetime membership, I have been running the 50% discount code using code APP the last 2 days here. This is going to be the last day that will be active if you guys would like to use it. Okay. But yeah, that's APP, guys. If you happen to not go straight to 690 tomorrow, and let's say you get a pullback or even open around current prices, we'll pull back there into like 620, 630, expect it to be bought, and then for you to push 690. Okay, that is the most ideal scenario for anybody sitting on the sideline. Is that okay? That is when premiums get crushed. That is when you could take advantage of them if you would like. Okay. Second of all, we have AMD. Okay, AMD with the bullish engulfing candlestick. It was selling off of earnings. You got bought up pretty quick today, and you closed out with the bullish engulfing candlestick on increasing volume. I have to assume this thing is heading right back up to the highs at 267.08. Now, given what's going on in the weekly chart over here, I don't think it's just magically going to explode. I think it's going to be something like you got over here, okay, where we do, close out the week. Maybe we track it to new highs into end of week here, but we might also just consolidate into end of week and then push up next week and make minor new highs up to maybe like 280. Okay, not my favorite over here, but I do want to point out it is starting to push back up. All right, and speaking of chips, we're going to talk about AVGO. Okay, AVGO, guys, had about, I want to say $7 million coming in today into the 400C. Let me just check expiration. January 400C, you had $6 to $7 million coming in calls today. Okay, they all started coming in between 10:30 and 11 o'clock this morning. You clearly are sitting right on the 21 EMA over here. As we said over here when you're breaking out, I do not expect this thing just to go straight up. I think it's probably going to trade how it has in the past, which is you grind, okay? Which means every week here, you get a decent pullback from what you got the last week, okay? So on this move over here, I was kind of saying, it's the same thing actually for crowd, which we're also going to talk about. All right, same thing, how this ticker, you just see how the thing likes to move in the past. It's probably going to do it again now, okay? So that's AVGO over here, guys. And, that weekly chart, it's going to go how it has in the past, okay? Like, you have a lot of these pullbacks. What you saw over here happened from last week's high to this week. It is normal. It's a normal occurrence over here. This chart suggests it's likely going decently higher, okay? You have not left the base you have, been building out for a while here. You had the false breakout. Give you an actual breakout from the false breakout high there, okay? This thing probably goes straight to $400, 400 or 415, I'm going to say, okay? That's AVGO. Just want to put it back on your radar now that it's fallen out of the sky over here and it's back down to the 21 EMA. If it's going to start turning around, all right, if you want to long this guy, use, today's low as a stop there. And that's pretty much it, okay? You long it, and if it's going to work out, it's going to work out. If it doesn't, it's not too bad. But if it works out, you get an early entry on a move up to 400 plus, okay? There's AVGO. Another chip stock we're going to be talking about today is going to be MU, okay? You're like, Henry, what the heck is this mess you got on your chart? It's for a reason, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is over like a 3-week period, these breakouts, okay? Ever since over here to over here, it's like a 3-week period where you've had 5 5-point breakouts happen that day of the breakout, okay? Or 5-point moves happen that day of the breakout. Tongue twister. All right, you have the first one being right here. You broke out over here. First day, 5 points. And then you break out, you pull back after marking out that high, you then broke out 8 points, okay? And then after marking out that high, you broke out that first day, you went 5 points. You went higher the next day. I didn't include that, but you did have an immediate 10-point move there. But now you have another high to go off of. What happens? You break out 7 points above, okay? What happens over here? You have a new high to mark out right there. And what goes on? You have another 5-point move that day of the breakout. Okay, we are strongly pushing up here, almost 10% of the day, 9% day over here, 20-point freaking move. All right, what did we point out yesterday? We said there were a lot of candles, a lot of tickers over here with these inverted hammers across the board. That is what we said in yesterday's video. This is exactly what I was talking about. Okay, we had a lot of these going on, and this was no exception. Okay, daily inverted hammer candle right off of the daily 9 EMA. And now with increasing volume, heavy volume going on there, you're pushing up to new highs. This is likely going to get a 5 to 10-point move into end of week above 237.62. We're looking for 242 to 243. That's really your minimum move that I'm looking for into end of week. If you get a pullback, okay, pull back tomorrow. That's where the opportunity really rises, okay? You want to try and get more than 5 points. If you get something like this where you pull back, okay, the day of your breakout there, if you pull back before going, let's just say you open around here, boom, pull back to 232. Well, if we know that, since we had that breakout going on early in the session, if you open right here, pull back, you know that now that 5-point move now turns into about a 10-point move for you into end of week. that's where you really can, you really could take advantage of this guy. Okay, so that's MU. So chip stocks, point out AMD, AVGO, and MU. Okay, next one we're talking about is going to be Crowd, CRWD, CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike, we've been talking about it ever since it got the breakout. I was talking about it in this range over here. I don't know if anybody took it, but I was really, this is when I pounded the table on it. Started to break out over here. I was thinking it was going to retest this area. It never did, okay? But I did point out, hey, wait for the mean reversion. It's likely going to be the case. There's plenty of pullbacks along the way on these previous moves into the 9 or 21 EMA, more specifically the 21 EMA. You got pretty close today. You're gapping down. You're down a little bit in the after hour session. I'm not sure if they're going to bring you down there tomorrow, but I think we're going to see a short-term low get put in over here on CrowdStrike, CRWD, into end of week here. All right, either this is the low, or I think you sweep that, maybe test the 21, and you will be back up at these highs by next week. Okay, that's 553.64. If you get the move, we'll just say from current price up to there, that's a 23 to 24 point move. Valid. Okay, that is CRWD. MRVL, Marvel. Okay, another chip stock. Now, with how the weekly is looking here, I don't think it's going to move this week. I think it's going to be getting a nice move next week. It did move big on the day. It's up 6% here. I like how you had the false breakout, pulled back, reverted to the mean. Again, what I tell you, you got the inverted hammer candlestick going on here. Okay, bang, push back up off of the 21 EMA, back up these highs. Now you got the inverse head and shoulders pattern going on right there. Okay, so MRVL, guys, watch for a move on it next week. I think it's probably going to stay consolidating around this high at 94.66 into end of week here, and then it goes next week. Doesn't have to be perfect. Regardless, I think it's going to be moving well out of this range. But, this is really what I'm comparing it to right here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weekly candles going sideways. All right. Over here, you had 3 to 4 candles going sideways here. And then you had the big move after you printed a similar candlestick to what you have right now in the weekly chart. Okay. So I am thinking next week. And as you see over here, you got the gap up and then pull back to start the week. So if you gap up near this high next week and then pull back, that's perfect entry point. Okay, pick where you want to risk on the lower time frames, but that is ideally what we're talking about. Okay, that's MRVL. BE, I've been talking about BE, and I think this bad boy about to explode up to 160 into end of week. Okay, put it on your radar. Put it on your radar. Okay, pull back again with the inverted hammer candlestick. We got the inverted hammer yesterday, push right back up the highs today. You got a 10% move on the day. Congrats if you're making money over here on BE. But yeah, I think this thing is about to have its next leg up. It's looking like it's probably going to happen tomorrow. So just put it on your radar. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, I'm watching for it into end of week. If it happens to not hit 160 to 170 this week, you're looking for it next week. Maybe this thing goes flat into end of week, continues consolidating, just getting tight over here, just like you did over here. But at this point, you have 6 sessions, 6 daily candles of consolidation above the previous high. Not massive moves either. Okay, we could see this stock likes the trend. This thing is clear as day compressing after, having its breakout. It's a break and retest. This is very likely just going to be treated like over here, and I will not be surprised to see this move up. And maybe it happens next week. I'm not sure. Like over here, you just stayed consolidating, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, what happened into the week? Thursday, Friday, you consolidated. Okay. You still had a decent move up that day that you could make money on, but you stayed consolidating. So if you were trying to catch the bigger swing move up and you were playing weeklies, your money went to zero. Okay. It did not work. It did not work. Any out the money options, they went to zero. I just want to remind everyone that is definitely a possibility here into end of week, that they hold it down and then bang, they pop it all at once on Monday. All right. That is exactly what happened the last time we had a similar setup on this ticker not too long ago, beginning of October. Okay. But that is BE. I'm looking for 160 to 170 in the short term. All right. I think it makes sense for this weekly candle to expand. And I think it might go 170, 180, but I'm going to say 160 as my conservative target on this breakout. And there you go. Okay. Why do I say that? Well, your range here, your bill now is 20 points. The high is 144 of the range. Okay. 20 points, 165. I think 160 is pretty conservative. There you go. All right. There's BE. Lemon freaking aid, baby. LMND. Congratulations. If you made money on this ticker today, it freaking exploded. Okay? It exploded. If you missed out, I am here to tell you, it is likely going to keep moving over the next few weeks. Okay? I'm just going to point out what happened on this move right over here. Okay? So we have this break of structure based at the top of this massive base. Like this is just beautiful. Okay? This is a textbook chart right here. Base breakout, break and retest, base above that. Then you get another base breakout. You barely move. And then you go sideways for 3 months. And now you start exploding off of earnings. This thing looks like it's going to go to $100. All right. I think it's probably going to be moving similar to how it did over here because we have these crazy moves going on again. This was a 30% move in one day as well. Okay. There's a few of these massive days over here. But it's very clear that once this thing starts moving, it can have easily 15 to 20% moves once it breaks out from these consolidations. Okay. I am not watching for consolidation to form. I'm not saying it doesn't go higher tomorrow. I think it might go to 85 tomorrow and then pull back into, early next week and then consolidates until end of week. But you're really from this point just waiting for these ranges to form. Okay. If you missed the initial move up like that, you could have bought off of the open. All right. Premiums right here. We're talking a contract over here. I forgot which contract they looked at. I think it might have been 75C. Or where was the set? I'm not sure. Either way, they literally went from being $100 to like 160. I was looking at premiums right off weeklies, right off of the freaking open. And yeah, the thing just took off like a rocket. I'm telling you, the move to be played here wasn't on that overnight gap up. It was on the move intraday. And now I'm telling you, this thing might consolidate here, probably will. Okay, it probably will give you a pullback or a range, something to play before that next move up to $100. All right, so I'm just saying, watch out for your reversion to the mean on this name. It is just starting, and it could be right at the end. It could have had a one pump wonder over here. It could have, but I'm telling you, in the past, when it has had a similar setup, and I'd say we definitely have been waiting for this move for a long time. I think that $100 cycle level is incoming. All right, before a major pullback. Yeah, if it's going to move how it has in the past, then we are watching for that first consolidation period. And then we are looking to take entries off of that if you did not catch it on this initial breakout move. But again, congratulations if you caught Lemonade. I've been talking about it, and that was one that we mentioned in the weekly update as an earnings play here. Was a top watch, okay? That's Lemonade. All right. Next one, Cypher. Congrats if you made money on Cypher today, guys. Up about 10%. Now, I'm telling you, this thing is on its way to $30. $30, baby. It's going. Okay. If the market's now going to start cooperating as well, and this has been moving so well without the market, oh, baby. $30 incoming. Okay. You have IREN. IREN. Those earnings are tomorrow after the close. Okay. I ended up taking this one around the open today. And we caught a big move before earnings. Now, yeah, if they give me 84, 85 tomorrow, guaranteed, I'm just going to take most off and we'll leave like one or two runners. All right. And we'll see if we catch a move up to 90 to $100 off that earnings gap up. These guys, the narrative just keeps being fueled over here by bullish news. They just had an OpenAI contract that is about half of their market cap here. I am guessing they're going to mention some of this in the earnings call. And I imagine this setup is going to have life just birthed into it through that earnings call. I'm thinking you get a 20 to 30% day. I could be wrong. Regardless, okay, you're having your breakout here. The setup is immaculate. It's exactly what I saw on Cypher before you had your earnings gap up move. Okay, so I was like, yeah, why not? I will definitely be playing this one. But yeah, IREN and Cypher over there are both looking immaculate. And if this thing does not get crapped on off earnings, which I think it's going to, I'm thinking 90 plus is incoming off earnings. But, with how it closed today, I will not be surprised to see a gap up tomorrow and we somehow get a 10 to 15% move. And a 10% move brings you up to 85. I'm telling you for a fact, if I see $85 on this name, I'm taking off pretty much everything, and I will probably just leave one call as a runner in case you get that big gap up into like $9,500. But that was really what I was playing for. I was playing for the breakup of 74 to bring it up to 85 plus. I'm thinking that's going to be the case here in the short term. Either way, IREN. Hope you guys are having a good time. I've been calling out that in Cipher, CIFR. When we were in this consolidation, it was just showing strength against the market. And now it broke out, pulled into the 9, and is pushing back up the highs. This is very likely going higher in the short term. I think we can genuinely see 28 to 30 bucks, maybe even by end of week. But, you know, you're going to need IREN to cooperate there off earnings. Okay, that is Cipher, CIFR, and IREN, IREN. Okay, aside from that, guys, I'm just going to point out GS. I pointed out is showing strength yesterday. I still think it is getting ready for a move back up to these highs here. This is a range that's building out, guys. That most of the price action is taking place within, you know, it's like 20 points here. Conservative, conservative, range measurement there, and your breakout move. 18 points, that 20 points just brings you right back up to the high. So the measure move from the range breakout brings you right back up to the high. I think it's pretty destined that this thing is about to be heading back up these highs. Okay, that is GS. QS. This is the last one I'm going to point out in today's video, guys. People don't want to give things time. I understand. You want to see them run right away. At the end of the day, this thing has not, this chart has not changed. You had a pullback over here. You had a big move up, almost taking out the high there, 1907. Pulled into the, reverted to the mean. It was harsher, okay? But you pulled back 21 EMA, and now you're pushing back up, almost back up to the high where you just got slammed down from. This, I don't think it's going to be moving this week. I don't think it moves up this week, but I will just say bulls are still holding their ground over here. Nothing has changed. Monthly chart still looking immaculate. You just had a big base breakout going on there. That's the higher time frame. And then you have the weekly over here showing continuous buyers 3 weeks in a row right off the 9 EMA. Okay, above where you broke out from. That is not something to be bearish about. And the daily, okay, we have a whole ton of consolidation. You actually have an inverse head and shoulders looking pattern in there as well. I think this breakout is probably coming. It's probably coming next week, all right? But maybe it happens into end of this week, probably next week. QS, put it on your radar. It has not had a decent move in quite some time. I know for a fact this name can move if it's, market's going to let it move. I think that's right around the corner, okay? Put it on your radar. That is QS, Quantum Scape. All right, guys. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. SOFI also looks ready for a move back up the high. That is SOFI. All right, been pointing that one out over the last 2 sessions, as well as one showing strength. It is still looking like it wants to push back up these highs, okay? In the short term, that is SOFI. Okay, you actually got a little wedge action going on in between, price and the 21 EMA. It looks like it's getting ready for this push. Okay, so if the market starts going, all of these names I just mentioned, these are the ones that I'm going to be focusing on here for these moves. As far as the Mag 7 stocks as well, all right, I am already in Meta. I like GOOG over here, guys, for a short-term pushback to these highs. Might consolidate for a few sessions here. Might hit it with some action like that. Okay, but it is very likely that this thing in the short term is heading back up the highs, 291.93, and I think that breakout move brings it $300. All right, there's that. And then aside from that, I got a Tesla Lotto going on right now, and we'll see if we end up getting this big move into all-time highs by end of week. And then Amazon. All right, I'm telling you, the more consolidation you build out here, the better. Okay, because this bad boy's going high. All right, with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys are having a great time in this market. I know it's been a little bit frustrating over here. The market, it's been pulling back for a straight week. But guess what? Did your boy not tell you about the pullback before the week, last week even started? I know I did. I said we got 2 scenarios. You're either going up to start the week and then you get slammed by end of week to put an upper wick, or you get slammed to start the week to put in the lower wick and then get bought up by end. That's what we were looking for last week. Okay. What did we get? We got 3 gap ups in a row that told us, okay, now we only have 2 more sessions for them to slam it down. We knew they were likely going to give you your upper wick. Okay. That is just a stat we had on the NASDAQ there on all-time highs. Okay. Forgot the exact stat there, but all-time highs pushed into new all-time highs with that decreasing volume. You look in some way, shape, or form for sellers to step in on that next candle. Does not tell you you are not going to go up to new highs. It tells you look for sellers to step in on the next candle. You guys all knew about the pullback before it happened. This is the area here. Well, SPY specifically, this is the area we are watching for buyers to step in on that pullback. If not here, then down here at 667.29. Again, this was called before the pullback happened. Now the pullback is here. Now we see buyers stepping in that spot. It gives you a nice spot to risk off of. If you want to start adding risk back into the market, I say this is the spot to do so. And again, you could just monitor the 21 EMA right below. All right. Regardless, I think we're about to get this move with vengeance back to the upside, okay? Buyers are pissed off, and they got no reason to be pissed off, okay? Buyers are in control. But I know the market's been frustrating over here. I think we have a recipe for this thing going back to highs in the short term, okay? As far as the indices go, guys, I'm just going to sum up what I said earlier, guys. 682.12. That's the spot you're watching here on SPY, SPY. If you get over that, okay, that is where you're likely going. You're probably just pushing straight up the highs. You know, this morning, that's the spot. You know, I had this green circle over here. I said, expect sellers in here. Until you clear this area, you know, sellers still can step in, okay? Where did they end up stepping? I actually had the same circle there on QQQ in the same spot. And where did they step in? They stepped in right where they had to, guys. Most of the time, we see these reactions happen as they are expected. Why? Because that's just where the probability suggests, okay? And if you've had enough time in the market, you just see over time how things, you know, how things work. And once you break down, you know, no matter what, you were expecting overhead supply here because it's where you just broke down from, okay? It's exactly where you broke down from, all right? Also, you had the 4-hour 21 EMA sitting right there. And SPY, it's also where you broke down from. So we're going to expect sellers in the same spot on both SPY and QQQ. Two different tickers there, applying the same exact logic, same principles. Why? Because that's how the market functions, okay? Either way, I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. I really do. Please leave a like. If you want to come trade with me, all right, that link is down below. And I will catch y'all in the next one. Peace.